Our next presenters are just going to be that. They are two speakers in one and a lot more. Al and Margaret Walker have been speaking, educating, and training for over 30 years, but in different arenas. You see, Margaret taught English to all types of students, from mountain folks to incarcerated teens. And she has lots of degrees and certifications and all the things that go behind someone who has been in education. Now, over the years, Al has also received a lot of certifications and those kinds of things, some that are special to our Speakers Association. He is a CSP. He is in the CSP Hall of Fame, and Al is a past president of the National Speakers Association. Over the years, Al has been using Margaret's stories, her funny stories from teaching experiences. Well, Margaret just got tired of that. And so she decided, instead of him stealing her material, she's just going to start speaking herself. So they have teamed up today, and you'll see firsthand how effective they can be individually and when they work together. You'll see how 1 + 1 can equal 3 as they share their thoughts of pirates and other criminals. From Chapin, South Carolina, please welcome Margaret and Al Walker.
I looked out across this room as I saw people coming in, and several of you who I worked with before over the years, and excited about being back here. We've got just a short period of time, as we all do up here, and I want to share a couple of thoughts with you before Margaret gets her turn at bat. I've learned that if I wait too long. No, anyway, back about a year ago, we had some of our family at our house, and the TV was on. And if the TV's on in our home, there are only one of usually two things that are showing, either HGTV, and we are rebuilding another kitchen or bathroom or something. And I love it when they say, when we come back from commercial, we're going to tell you what color we chose to paint the brick on this lovely new home. And anyway, we watched that, or we watched Turner Classic Movies, all the old classics, old movies. Well, the old movies were on, and it was an old black and white film from back in the 30s, like when talkies first started. And it was a French film, and it had the English translation there for us all to read, but nobody was really watching it, because we were talking, it was Jana, her husband, 2 of our grandchildren. We were just kind of horsing around, I guess, and all of a sudden, like on cue, everybody started looking at the TV just at one time. And this French film was about the French Foreign Legion and sheiks and harems, and all of a sudden, one of the haremettes came dancing across the screen, and when she turned around with her veil and faced the camera, now this movie was made in the 30s, she didn't have a stitch on from the waist up. 7-year-old Bella's eyes got big as saucers. She started laughing, that nervous laughter everybody does when they're not sure how to respond to something. She looks at me and she says, "Pop, I've been traumatized." I said, "Bella, I've been traumatized too. I cannot believe what Mimi watches on television." So anyway, a week later, she was there, and we have a little statue of David out in our sunroom, and looked out, and there was a pillow propped up against David. There's usually a plant there, but Margaret had taken it to put some water in it or something. And she asked who put the pillow against David. Bella said, "I did. I was traumatized again. So everywhere I look in this house, I'm traumatized. My mind will never be the same." Now, I don't know about y'all, but I don't think the word traumatized was part of my vocabulary when I was 7 years old, but it is of hers. Now, the reason I share that is this. How many of y'all feel like some of these days when you're at work, you're often traumatized? You're overworked, you're overwhelmed, you're underappreciated, underpaid, and all the things that go along with that. And it's because so much is just so much going on. You've had these days where you got your to-do list ready, or your task list and Outlook, and got your day kind of halfway planned, and all of a sudden it's 10 or 12 hours later, and you realize, I didn't get anything done on my to-do list hardly, but I've been busy all day long. Why was that? Well, it's because you were busy dealing with pirates, as we call them. Pirates in our programs that we teach on that, and we talk about sometimes on that subject, is anybody or anything that steals your time. And the world is covered with pirates. They abound. They're everywhere. We can never eliminate them, but we can learn to manage them just a little bit better. We got a lot of ideas we share with people about that topic, and I'll share one of them with you today. Some of you are familiar with what we call the 4 Ds of how to deal with stuff. Every time we get input, whether it's in an email or a phone call or information from somebody else or snail mail, we got some decisions to make. When are we going to do this? And the first D is do it. If it's going to take less than about 5 minutes, we recommend go ahead and knock it in the head and get it out of the way. The second D is dump it, throw it in the trash can, or delete it if it's a crazy email. Get rid of it. The third one is if there's somebody else that can do it, delegate it to them. And the fourth one is, which a lot of people are not familiar with, is date activated. If you decide I'm not going to do this right now, okay, when are you going to do it? It's going to be a week from now or a month from now. Go out and write that down or put it in the computer somewhere. But also you need to put where you can find that, because one of the biggest pirates is search time that we spend looking for stuff everywhere. So we want to try to eliminate some of that search time. When I do a lot of keynotes and luncheons, I talk about the difference between ignorant and stupid, and tell people that in the South, that's one of those words we take a syllable out of. It's not ignorant for most of us, it's ignorant, or ignorant. Anyway, different between ignorant and stupid. One of the examples I use in stupid is about Jim Rozier, a buddy of mine who's county administrator in Berkeley County, back 20 years ago, told me this had happened to him. He said he got a phone call one day from a guy. He said, Mr. Rozier said, need for you to come out to my house and put up one of those deer crossing signs. He said, sir, we don't do that. That's the Department of Natural Resources. They know where the deer cross the road for food and water. And the guy interrupted and he said, that's the problem out here. These deer where I'm living, they're crossing wherever they want to. Crossing one end of the road and up at the other end of the road. And they crossing through the yard and just crossing everywhere. And we need a sign so the deer will know where to cross the road. And Jim said, how do you respond to that? So he just kind of stared at the phone and put it back up to his ear and he said, sir, I hate to tell you this, but deer can't read. He said the guy got very indignant and said, well, of course I know deer can't read. That's why y'all put that picture of that jumping deer up on the sign. So anyway, an example of stupid. So ignorant and stupid. And there's a fifth D. I told you there were four of them. There's a fifth one that we use in our programs. And I tell people the fifth one is dumb if you don't do the first four. So speaking of dumb, no, I mean,
that's not what he meant.
in reference
No.
to not her. That's not a good line. I guess I need to change that. So.
No, he is not talking about moi.
No.
But some dumb things that do happen. Now, actually, I was taking care of the pirates of my life, and I was running some errands. And my first stop was the video store. So I jumped in the car, took off down the road. Oh, it was my lucky day. Parking space right on the front. Got out of the car, went across the pavement. I went in the indoor, placed my videos down, came out the outdoor, got back in my car. Now, for me, it is a simultaneous motion, steering wheel, key, accelerator. And imagine the jolt that you have when you're going for something solid and it is not there. And I was just almost like hyperventilating to think that someone in just a matter of seconds had completely stripped my car. And I was sitting there just thinking, how could this have happened? No books, no paper, no dash, no steering wheel. And I realized I was sitting in the back seat of my car. And I had to laugh at myself, and of course, you know, you have to look to see, did anyone see you do this? And I wish I could tell you that's the dumbest thing I've ever done,
Nope.
but it's not. I went to work for the Department of Juvenile Justice. I thought I had applied to a regular high school. I'm not from Columbia. I did not know, I had no idea that this was a prison high school for incarcerated 15 to 19-year-old young men. It's a very, very interesting place. I got there, and of course, when I realized, you know, what my mistake, I'm physically ill, because I was fingerprinted, mugshot, and I was driving through a razor wire fence, and I'm going, no, this is the dumbest thing that I have ever done. but it's not, really. Okay, but it was, like I said, it was a very, very interesting place. It was full of young men who had made some really, really dumb, they had done some dumb things, and they had made some really, really bad decisions and some lousy choices in their life. Dominic was one such character. Dominic's reputation preceded him. Of the state's most violent offenders of kid criminals, I guess Dominic had to be one of the most undesirable, unsavory characters ever. Because of his behavior, he was sort of isolated most of the time. He was never in class for very long because he assaulted every teacher he ever had, so he had never passed a class. He'd been with us for years, so we all knew what he was like. So if Dominique was on the hallway, everybody's antenna was up. Dominique was on the hallway one day. It was the change of classes, and I noticed him coming down the hallway. The hallway was filled with students and teachers, and I saw him coming. Oh, he was head and shoulders above the rest of the crowd. Just big, lumbering. Those arms and hands were just swishing by his side like the branches of a palm tree, you know. And he's the sort of person that this is sort of bad to say, I guess, but you would see him coming and you just had to just, shudder. Here comes Dominique. Well, Dominique brushed past me, and as he went past me, he had this permanent snarl. And he said, "I'm gonna get in you class." Well, I said, "Great. I am really looking forward to it, Dominique. When's this gonna happen?" He just snarled. So day after day, he did this. And finally, one day, he brushed past me and into my classroom. And he said, "You next." And I said, "Wonderful. I have been waiting for a person like you to come into my classroom." I'm frantic. I'm trying to think. I've heard you've got great skills. I know. I would love for you to work on a special project with me. Do you think you'd be able to work on a project with me? Would you be willing to do that? Well, this sort of surprised him. Actually, it surprised me too, because then I had to come up with a project. But I did. And I wish that I could tell you, because of my positive attitude and my willingness to work with him, that every day was a great day. But I'll tell you, we had our battles. I mean, papers would get torn up, the room would get trashed, books would be thrown, chairs would go flying. But that's just what I did. But we weathered the storm. We weathered the storm. And what I noticed was that Dominique was managing to stay in school. And it came the time he was going to be released. I was again standing outside in the hallway, leaning against the wall. You know how we hold up the walls all the time. And came Dominique. He sidled up beside me, and he checked the hallway both ways because he did not want to be overheard. Snarl. Not quite so much of a snarl so much, but in that low country mumble, that dialect he had, he leaned over and he said, "You be the only person ever show me respect. You be my strength." Well, Dominique taught me a lot of things that year. You work in a difficult situation with difficult people, and you hope that maybe you'll change them, but they end up changing you. The two really big things I learned from Dominique, one was that a little respect goes a really long way. And the other one is that success breeds success. Don't let a dumb idea get you down. You might do some dumb things. I do them all the time, I'm sorry. But then sometimes dumb things just happen to you. Maybe you've got new quotas to meet, new standards. You're under new ownership, new management. Maybe you're having to do things a whole new way because of our economy, and your business has changed. Whatever that change is, you know, give it a shot. Take a dumb idea, give it a daring strategy, and you might be surprised that it turns into a divine appointment. Make those things that happen to you work for you. In the case of Dominique, when he was about to be released, you know, he should never have been placed with me, never. He was particularly dangerous toward authority figures and women in particular, not just any women, all women. Should never have been with me. But we worked together and he left. I had to check out his records when he left because I wanted to know, you know, did he pass anybody's class besides mine? And so I checked the records, and I noticed that Dominique, that kid who had assaulted every teacher he ever had, Dominique, that kid who had never passed a class, had made the honor roll. I had to smile because I thought, divine appointment.